Our next guest here on the Entrepreneur Thrive and Scale Summit is Eric Asbeck. He is a strategic clarity expert with over 14 years of experience helping entrepreneurs eliminate overwhelm and achieve consistent results. A former corporate leader who developed over $120 million in new ventures, he now teaches business owners how to cut through complexity, master focus, and drive sustainable success. Eric helps experienced course creators and online coaches who feel overwhelmed and pulled in too many directions to simplify, focus, and finally grow their business without burning out. Please welcome to our Entrepreneur Thrive and Scale Summit stage, Eric Asbeck. Eric, how are you, bud? Great to see you.
Hey there, my namesake Eric.
We
With a
we
C
spell it
versus a K.
we spell it a little different just so we're not confused with each other. That's
Yes,
how
I
we
just
roll.
just by the way, we're channeling the
We're in
same kind of
blue.
color theme and all that.
It's the Eric thing. We're right there, same wavelength. I love it.
Yeah, I
Hey,
I am happy. I'm proud to be on a wavelength like with you.
you rock. I can't wait for this conversation. You have done so many things along your journey. Tell me, walk us through the moment when you really realized success wasn't about doing more, but doing the right things with clarity.
So I I had some personal challenges back in 2005. I was diagnosed with a rare and uncurable cancer. I mean, imagine your world turned upside down and questioning what really matters. I mean, it was a total shock. I had a tumor in my spine.
Ooh,
Tumor was pressing on my spine, and it was threatening to paralyze or kill me. And I was faced with basically paralysis or death as a possibility. I mean, I didn't know whether I'd how long I'd live, whether I'd ever walk again. I had two young sons. I didn't know if I'd ever see them graduate from college and get married and have kids, all that stuff. I mean, it, the expectancy at the time, they were saying was 3 to 5 years. So, yeah, like, whoa.
wow. That was tough to
Yeah.
hear, I can imagine.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, that forced me to stop everything and focus on the most important thing at that time was staying alive, one, and walking again, two.
How
Uh,
long ago was that?
that was 20 years ago.
20
And
years. And how long was the expected life expectancy at the time?
3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And, so I was on extended bed rest and back surgery and began the many years of treatment that I've been under. And, eventually I got back on my feet and got back to work in the corporate world. But I mean, that experience really changed me. And, I didn't see success the same way ever again.
Yeah, I can
uh,
imagine.
yeah, so it led me to leave the corporate world and start my own business, which is something I'd always dreamed of, but I'd never really fully pursued um, until after the wake up call. I mean, I had at the time initially I was married and had a family with young children, and then we got the divorce, and I was the primary breadwinner, and I had the kids with me every other week, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but when this happened, I was basically forced to take a step back. So over the years, I've built several businesses and I've gone through more round treatments and continued to refine what works, not just in staying alive, but in staying focused in general. And back in April of 2023, just April 3rd, 2023, so I'm in my 2 year anniversary month. I got this revolutionary new cancer treatment that really changed everything for me again because it's let me be off chemo ever since.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't just get more time. I got like a new chance and additional clarity. And so, now I share that with my folks, cut through the noise and focus on what truly matters. Because I know how precious time and energy really are. I mean, you learn that.
Yeah, and when you realize the end could be any time, it makes you focus on the things that really matter and not get all wound up in the things that don't really mean a whole lot. I
Yeah.
can completely understand that. You
It,
mentioned that
well, I just want to say it led me to like really simple things like whenever I was on the phone or with my kids and my other family, I'd always end with "I love you." It's sort of like how many chances will I get to let them know that?
yeah.
So anyway,
Well, what I was going to ask was you talked about how it redefined your definition of success coming through that. Tell me about that. What does that look like today?
um, the first, well, for myself, um, well, first of all, in general, knowing yourself as more and more deeply gives you clarity about where you really want to go and what really counts. And for me, number one, actually, I have a thing on the wall over here. Uh, spend time with my kids, spend time with my other family, friends, and so forth. Exercise and take care of myself and those sort of things. And down at the bottom, it's like, and my dream, build a business, and make it successful. But first things first.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and everybody's got to come up with their own definition of that. But it actually kind of comes back to one of the things that I provide is a way. The first thing you wanted to, when you're deciding what you want to do, task wise or minute, daily, weekly goal wise, is it aligned with what's most important? And I personally have as the number one thing, is it something that helps me to focus better? But then next is, social and family. And then comes like sales, which is if you had a business, you got to make money. But then there's a question, other kind of personal factors and the other things that I need to do for my business. But personally, I prioritized that um, family and relationship piece above even the business. Other people may have a different set of goals depending on where they are, but the point is knowing what you're doing, having a way of knowing what you're doing is an alignment with what's most important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Priorities in life help define that success.
Right.
Um, at the bottom of that list is building your own business. What does the successful business, what would that make possible for you in your life?
Well, um, one thing is um, just I really love it when people get the transformation,
Mhm.
when they see that clarity of things. Um, and I do that is important to me. I get a kind of a good dopamine hit from that. I use neuroscience in part of my teaching. But beyond that, from a personal point of view, having the financial resources and finding a way to create a business and a business model that requires ideally less and less time over time and continues to be able to easily scale. Um, it gives me the freedom to do a number of things. I mean, right now I live in Florida, but I have a lot of family in Cleveland, and I fly back and forth. But I'd love to be able to have a place here and a pied a terre up there, and so forth. And so also that portability, that ability to kind of work from anywhere, and having the freedom for that. Um, those things are part of my view of what success looks like.
Well, and having that portability and being able to work everywhere supports those first two um, priorities on your list of spending more time with family and building those relationships.
Yes, yes, it does.
How,
And
how is that success sustainable? What needs to be present to make that a long term plan?
well, there's many layers to that to answering that question. Uh, I guess first of all, like at the kind of immediate sense, You need to be in a situation where you have an offer that you can make to people that sells, and that the amount of money that you're making from that is enough to fund your lifestyle, and hopefully be able to put some away. Um, but also it needs to work within the context of how much time it takes for you to do to operate that, and how that's working. But even more, another layer below that is, do you love it? Are you working with people that are you hanging around with people that you want to be with all the time, and that you would like, even if you didn't have, even if they weren't paying you, even if you didn't make a dime, you'd want to be doing that? And are you talking about stuff that really lights you up, uh, and it has to reciprocally make a difference to the people you're working with? But at a more foundational level, those things are also key to it.
You mentioned before you had all of these things going on, you hit that cancer spot, and it made you really narrow down your focus and focus on the things that make the most impact and make the most difference in your life.
Right.
Luckily, most people don't go through the cancer thing in order to get that revelation. A lot of
Yeah.
entrepreneurs spinning too many plates and doing 100, trying to multitask and getting thrown completely off track. What's the secret to cutting through all of that noise and actually focusing on what matters without having to go through the cancer battle? Like, how do we do it in regular everyday life?
Well, I was actually on another event even earlier today, and they were saying, find somebody who has a ton of experience that has helps you cut through the speed of getting this figured out. So I'm a systems kind of thinker, and like habits and processes that kind of take the having to make the mental decisions about things. The more you have to decide in a moment, okay, what do I need to do next? Or, how do I deal with that? Sometimes there's disruption, and you have to actually it's good if you have a way to handle that too. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, the, the idea is to keep track. So I'm sorry, I got lost in the question. Sorry, I was going on a tangent. Bring me back, please.
That's all right. So
Let's talk
how
about
do we
lack of focus. Where's that?
how do we cut through the noise and focus on what really matters?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. I notice when a lot of you were talking about systems and implementing systems, so you don't have to think in the moment.
Right.
And I people who are creating podcasts or creating content, and I'm helping them, they don't like to block it out because they feel like that eliminates the spontaneity and the creativity. And I tell them, when you frame it out and you know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, it allows you to be more creative because you're not thinking about what to say next. It's already there in the plan. And so plan out
Structure.
the show, the structure. Absolutely.
Structure will set you free.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
So, so I guess to kind of go into answering your question, if you know people, the people I work with, I mean, they're doing the right things in theory, but some maybe they're trying to do them all at once, or they're getting interrupted by scattered different opportunities and things. And an even deeper level, maybe it is that they think they know what they're doing in theory, but they haven't really thought through how to, where they want to go in the long run. Like I talked about my business being more compact in terms of the amount of time and energy I have to put in and be able to scale. But you know, I mean, they I've been there. You're launching different programs, you're creating content, you join masterminds, you're doing all kinds of strategies, and it just, one, doesn't yield what you're looking for, and two, you're just kind of exhausted. So I have something I call the strategic focus blueprint, and it's really not about working harder, but like I talked about, aligning your daily actions with one clear goal and eliminating all that noise and knowing how and when to say no to things. And just the best, ideally, you want to be able to build a system that helps you create that consistent momentum on one. I mean, I call it the pick one, like pick one thing that you're focusing on, do that, and get to doing it really, really well. And if you've got it really running and operating and so forth, great. Um, Hire somebody to do that for you or whatever, and go start another business or do something else. But like, don't be jumping around. Uh, and uh, and so, once you know that you're aligning all your daily actions with one clear goal and eliminating the noise, and then that you can start to understand what's going to really move the needle in your business, and then everything gets easier. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I do in my own personal system is I keep track when I take tasks. I make a point of making note and keeping them in my little task manager, and I have one flag for them that says that one moved the needle, and so I
Oh,
have a
nice.
record of those, and I can then go back and say, how can I do more of that? Because
Give me an
that's the stuff
example
that
of
makes.
somebody that you've helped through that process, that you've helped them clear away all the clutter and really get focused on what moves the needle.
Um, well, one guy is Dave, and he's a very systematic guy, but he was feeling frustrated because he had a lot of things he wanted to do, not just in his business but his personal life. He'd like to bike and a number of other things, and he's very systematic, but he didn't his system didn't really get him focused the way he wanted to. So as we worked together and we talked about not just the practical matters of what to put in place, but also um, I base my stuff on the neuroscience of focus, and there's some pretty basic but important, valuable things that you can learn from that. Have to do with rewarding yourself when you take an action, and uh, dealing if you're stuck or overwhelmed. I pick one action that's going to move you forward toward the goal that's most important. A small thing. Take that action and reward yourself for it. It starts to create this positive feedback loop. So as we went through things, I was teaching. I went through. He went through a program with me once and got a lot out of it. But then he had the opportunity to review it, and he's like, heard everything. Heard a bunch of new things, and I'm basically rebuilding, rethinking, and restructuring how I'm, my systems for how I'm handling this stuff. He was, that systems geeky kind of guy, which
Yeah.
is kind of my gene too. But yeah, made a big difference, and just more freedom and able to do the stuff that was really what mattered to him.
It's amazing what you can catch a second time through something. Like you go through and you're like, it's like it shows up when it needs to. Like the pieces appear and jump in when you need them most. When people are going
Well, actually,
through,
I'll just say it's not just when you need the most, but something will be put out there and you're not ready to actually receive it yet. There's
yeah,
something in the
exactly.
way, right? And all of a sudden you'll hear the exact same material again, and you'll be like, "Oh, what a great thing! I wish they'd said that the first time."
Yes. Right. It's a recording and they did, and you've heard
Well,
it
you've taught
twice
your
now.
program a bunch, so that's like, I imagine you've had that experience with folks.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's like when you're ready to implement it and when you're looking for the answer to that particular problem, that's when you'll notice it. And it
Yeah.
comes through and you're like, oh, now it all fits together. Now it clicks for me.
And sometimes you have to build. I really believe in the fundamentals,
Mhm.
and uh, keep going back to them. I do social ballroom and Latin dancing, for example,
Oh,
and
nice.
I'll go to a dance and they'll have a little lesson at the beginning, and
Mhm.
oftentimes it's like in two parts. There's a beginner part and then an intermediate or advanced part, and I always, no matter how experienced I am, make a point of attending the beginner part for two reasons. One is again they switch partners and it's a chance for me to introduce myself, but secondly, every single time either the instructor will say something and in a different way that I hadn't realized, or I'll be like, oh man, I was getting sloppy. I forgot that. And I can
Yeah.
get back to it. And it's the same with your business. You know, and with the programs as you're talking about, if you go through it, you can't if you try to receive something that's like past where you the foundation that you built, then it's just not going to produce the results and it ends up being distracting. It's like a version of shiny object syndrome, you know?
Yes. Right. Trying to focus on too many things at one time.
Right. And that's
Which,
the power
which
of saying no, right?
that sounds like one of the big challenges that people probably face when they're trying to implement focus in their business and in their processes. What are some of the hidden pitfalls that prevents people from succeeding?
Um, well, one of the boogeymen, one of the big gripes I have is, and it's not the fault of the people that are out there providing things for the people I work with, but there's these advanced strategies that it's like, oh, do this, and you'll 10x your business or whatever it is.
Yeah,
But
that's the new phrase, 10x your business.
right, but the thing is, if you don't have the foundation in place, like if you don't have like your core offer and the high ticket version of it, and you know how to offer it and really good at converting it and delivering it and tuning it in a way that really works for you, and all these other things that are scaling strategies are just taking you off base, and you spend a lot of time preparing things. I did that one time way back in the day. I tried to do a challenge, but I wasn't ready for it, and
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time at it, and then crickets, because I just didn't have the foundational stuff. And nothing wrong with challenges; they could be great in their place. I know people that are very successful with them, but just the point is those advanced strategies is one of the big things that gets in the way. Another one is not being clear about the boundaries that you want to put in place, and
Great point.
that goes for within your business in a lot of different ways, and also in terms of your personal life and creating a partition there. One of the people I worked with, she was worked hard and she was a go getter and she was building her business, but she says, "What I really would love to be able to do is quit at 5:30 and have time to play with my dogs and have dinner with my husband, and then I could do something a little later, but it's like being able to do that." And one of the things that we talk about is, structuring your calendar. And so here's the thing. All right. So who are you working for? You. Who's setting your calendar? You. Who's offering meetings during the time that you wanted to have dinner with your husband and play with your dogs? It's you. So there's I mean, it's just simple things like that. And even within your business, I mean, you got to block focus times to just do the stuff that's going to move the needle. And that
Yeah.
means not setting up meetings during that time, having a consistent, I'd like to think like a 90-minute block would works. And ideally in my prime time, there's like different energy times that you have during your day. And, if you do an assay of how your day goes, you can figure out, like for myself, I know that if I do stuff from like 10:30 to 12:30, that's like ideally the focus time for me where I'm fresh and I've done the stuff in the morning that that is important on my personal level, and I'm ready to sit down and dig in. And if I really know in advance what I want to get done, so I'm not deciding that instant that morning, and have all my ducks in a row, like have the resources I need in place like that. I can sit down and focus, and I may not knock out the whole thing that I'd set, but I make a big dent in it that's like material. And so there's those kind of boundaries also.
How did you determine the 10 to noon was your focus area? How can people find that sweet spot where they're most focused or most able to?
Well, there's a kind of a rule of thumb that says that um, uh, you're 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 normally so maybe 4 hours for me. It's like 4 hours after I get up,
Okay.
around that kind of time. And you can kind of find like play with it yourself. You can start with that kind of rule of thumb, but you play around with it and you see some people are like night owls, and
Yeah.
that's their prime time. I mean, so it really depends on you, but pay attention to yourself and really keep track of when that sharp time is, when your mind is not, it has the capacities in place to do your best work, and respect that. I mean, you can do whatever you want with your time, but if you know that about yourself, then you have the opportunity to harness that for what's most important.
Yeah. So trial and error, just tried various times during the
Yeah,
day and see when you're most productive and most focused. I like that.
right. And sometimes it doesn't work that way, right? Something will come up, and you're like, okay, well, that went out the window.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Uh,
Things happen. Things
right.
happen.
But then
When
what do you
people
do? You step back and you take a pause, and you're like, okay, what's the next thing I can do to move me forward toward what's most important, toward my goal? And then you take even that tiniest little step and reward yourself for it. Like
Yeah.
give yourself literally a dopamine burst in whatever fashion, whatever way that is. It could even be as simple as saying to yourself, I mean, I'll just say this out loud, dude, you did a great with that. Way to
Gi-
go. And
Give
I'll
yourself
even
a
do
high
like,
five.
I'll even
Yeah.
do, like, but the point is that I want to viscerally enable that reward reaction. And I don't care if anybody else is watching.
If somebody's feeling scattered and lacking that focus, what's the first step someone should take to or take to really just start making real consistent progress in their business?
Well, the very first thing is to hit pause, um, and like just stop doing all that stuff and just take an honest look at where your time and energy are going. I mean, that's the most straightforward way to do it. Like keep track over the course of a day, and just like make a point of like writing every single thing down, like and not cheating. Like I got on Facebook and got sucked in for an hour and a half or YouTube videos or something like that.
Yes.
Or I stayed up late because as it got to be later. And here's one of the things that is a devil for me. Uh, Later in the evening, I'm starting to get tired, and my capacity for setting boundaries and maintaining discipline starts to erode, and I'm like avoiding something, and I'll get on to YouTube videos and I'll start watching them, and all of a sudden, like an hour can elapse, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, drat, to use a word, um, or whatever, fill in whatever, however you want to express that,
Whatever's appropriate for you.
right? But it's like I'm getting to sleep later than I wanted to, and then it's easy to get down on yourself.
So once you write it all down, then what do you do
So
with it?
once you know what things are, what's going on with your time and energy, then you want to think in terms of, am I chasing a bunch of different agendas? Do I, where are my priorities? I mean, is it clear or is it scattered? Like all that. Do I have a bunch of, I call it 747 circling Newark Airport? And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, you got to land one,
Right.
right?
Let's
Um,
finish a project.
yeah. So, you really need to know what's actually producing results. And then from there, you can, you can start. setting the priorities on those things. I mean, the gift that I have is going to talk about that. There's something called the Eisenhower matrix, which says what's urgent and what's important, and there's rules. If it's urgent and important, you do it immediately, and if it's uh, important but not urgent, then you schedule it and make sure you get that done, because that's actually the gold in the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and then there's the others, and there's delegate and just don't do within that. But
Yeah.
I've actually added a third element to that, which I call alignment, and that's back to what I talked about for myself. It's like, is it something that is a task that is around focus, like my weekly planning or my daily first thing in the morning? What am I going to do for the day or the night before, like that? Or is it related to those other things that are important to me? Relationships and social stuff, earning, making, something that's going to get me sales, something related to the other important things in my business. There's a couple other factors that I like, building systems and serving with excellence kind of stuff. Or, is it part of my other important personal things, like eating well and exercising, and you get the idea. But
Well,
that
let's
I've
talk a
added that
little bit.
alignment piece because that's the key.
Let's talk a little bit about your action guide and how that ties into this and how it helps us implement what you're talking about.
Sure. So it's called the Strategic Focus Blueprint, and it's not just like a high level kind of overview. It's like a practical step by step guide that it's designed to give you that immediate clarity and control over your time and energy. So it's basically you're doing your own personal deep dive into reclaiming your focus. So you go through the 1 day time audit exercise to uncover exactly how you're spending all that precious time. I mean, each moment is a gift, and you want to make the most of it. And so, what are you doing with that? And then after you've finished being surprised about it, then you start taking stock and do something, like pick the three most important activities that you want to do for the day in priority order. And for that matter, on a weekly basis, think about it, the three most important things you want to get done for the week and so forth. Um, and, and then eliminate distractions, and ideally, what I suggest is that you set some kind of a 90-day goal for yourself. Like, this is the one thing I want to get done. And then as you're making those choices about things, you kind of think about it. I think of it kind of as a reverse kite. You're, if on the ground, you're sitting there with the kite, and the things are, and it's buffeting around. It's more like you're at that other end, and you want to, it's the thing that will, even if you're buffeted around, it's the thing that leads you towards that goal. So you're on track, off track, back on track, and so forth. So so there's that, and then learning how to use that enhanced Eisenhower matrix to prioritize your tasks based on the alignment as well as urgency and importance. And
Nice.
it's designed to just basically get into action right away, and it's a structured thing because I'm a structure guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The link to that is in the chat. It's the strategic focus blueprint, your opportunity to escape all of the overwhelm and cut through the chaos and really focus with confidence. Get that free action guide. Link is in the chat. I'll also put it at podcasttalentcoach.com/focused, and you can download it there as well. If you have questions for Eric, post those up in the chat. We'd love to answer them. We were talking about your cancer a little earlier, Eric, and Cheryl asked if the treatment that got you off of your chemotherapy, was that an experimental treatment, or was that something that is readily used?
It's actually around the time that I got it, it was still relatively new. However, it had been FDA approved. It's called CAR-T, CAR-T therapy. And basically, they harvest your white blood cells, your lymphocytes, the ones that go and point and say, "Go kill that."
Mm-hmm.
They harvest those and then genetically modify them and reinfuse them. There's a huge war, and it kills off virtually all the cancer cells. So
Wow.
yeah. Now, there may be a few that are in there that'll start to do mischief again over time, but
Yeah,
it's, like that.
that's pretty impressive.
Yep.
Uh,
CAR T therapy.
CAR-T. All right,
Yeah.
very cool. Tell me about a tool that you use to help you get super focused and more productive. What's your favorite resource or tool that you use most often?
Um, well, I am a little geeky, but some of my best students actually are even more geeky than me. So when I was teaching, as I've been teaching the focus system, found that they were using databases. So I ended up starting to use something called a Notion database. And as I was looking into all that, I found something by a guy named Tiago Forte called the Build a Second Brain Para system, which stands for projects, areas, resources, and archive. And so basically, it's a way to keep things structured. So I have a way of like everything that comes up, I dump it into the data, dump it in there, so I can I can find it later and search for it, and there's AI to help me work with it and I have my task management system in there. That's a little more geeky than some people, but you could use Asana or Trello or something. There's other tools, Monday, those kind of tools to accomplish that the foundational priority setting and stuff like that.
Yeah, just something to help you keep organized and
Have
but
those three categories: alignment, importance, and urgency.
but the key is use it on a regular basis and be consistent with it rather than just
Right.
having it. Like if you're not
I
going back and using it, then it doesn't do you any good.
every time I think I've got to do that, I create a task, and then I'll I'll just take a moment and set those three categories. How it fits in each of those three categories, and and then as I kind of say, okay, I want to do this on a certain day, you sort on order like that, and you're like, okay, well, that's the one at the top. Now, sometimes I'm like, well, I don't want to do
Yeah,
that, but you know what's the most important. Yeah,
very good.
yeah. So
Um,
it's helpful to have something that's a structured system that you can keep track of those things. I mean, if you're even the stuff that you didn't have on your list, if you write it down in there, then later on when you go back and look, well, what did I do today or what did I do this week? You're like, oh, this and that. And then you can also go back and say what really moved the needle. Alignment,
nice.
urgency, and importance is the third one.
Very good. Well, Eric, I appreciate you being here with us today. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom. Truly appreciate it. Make sure you grab Eric's free gift. It is in the chat for you. Click that, download it, and you can get all of that help and start getting focused. Be more productive. Eric, thanks for being here again today. Truly appreciate the time you've given us.
You're welcome. That's what a treat. I really appreciate the opportunity to have the chance to talk with you and your audience.